Hi everybody, I'm so sorry that I can't be here with you today, but it's really important that we keep learning, and so we are going to look at something called graphing inequalities. So let's first start with equalities. Equalities have an equal sign, and they are quite simple. If we're just graphing x equals 4, we take a number line, and I always like to put the number in the middle and then include a few extra numbers around it. Of course, the numbers have to be in order. And then when x is equal to 4, all we do is we put a dot right above the 4 to say that's where x is. This also works with negative numbers. So I can put -2. And then on this side, I could have a -1 and a 0, and maybe on this side, I have a -3. And I know that x is right here at -2. It is that straightforward. One more just in case. There's a fraction. I would probably put it, I would still do my integers, but I know that a third is going to be somewhere around here. And if you're not sure if you put it in exactly the right spot, you can always label it. Oh, wait, hang on. I totally messed that up, guys. That's not 1/3. That's 1 1/3. 1/3 would be hanging out over here. And so if you're ever unsure and you want me to know that's exactly a third, just say, hey, that's a third. All right. When we switch to inequalities, which is anything that is not exactly equal to, things change a little bit. We have two big rules to follow. The first rule is about the circles. If you noticed, when we were plotting the equalities, we did kind of a dot that was colored in and filled in. This is called a closed circle. And we're going to use closed circles if the graph or if the inequality says less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. However, we are going to use something called an open circle, and it looks like a circle that's not filled in if it just uses the less than or greater than signs. So the closed circle tells you that you're allowed you're allowed to use that number, but the open circle says you can get really close to this number, but you're not allowed to use it. So if we look at our example that we're doing, x is greater than 4, there is no equal to symbol on that. The greater than symbol means I'm just going to be doing an open circle. So if I put 4 on there, instead of filling in my circle, I'm just going to leave it open. The second rule has to do with the direction of your answers. And this is where we're going to do something called test a point. And at the beginning, it might seem a little silly to you because you probably know which numbers work and which numbers don't. But as these become more and more complex, it's going to be really important that you know how to test a point. So we're starting with problems that we absolutely know. So if we are looking at our example that we have already, what testing a point looks like is it means picking a point that's somewhere on the right side and picking a point that's somewhere on the left side of our number. And we just want to test and see if it makes our inequality statement true. So we're starting with x is greater than 4. I got that from up here. And I'm going to choose, I can choose like 2 or 3. I'm going to choose 2. And if I plug in 2 for x, my statement now says 2 is greater than 4. Now, I hope you're upset by this because this is a false statement. And we'll see what we do with that later. But if we try something on the right side, and we're still working with x is greater than 4, let me try to put 5 in. Let's say 5 is greater than 4. Absolutely, that is true. So what this means is that all of the numbers in this direction are true. They are all greater than 4. And all of the numbers in this direction over here are false. So what this ends up, what the graph ends up looking like is a circle depending on whether it says less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or just less than or greater than, and then a line with an arrow indicating which side is true. We always want the line to go on the true side. So let's do another example to make sure that this is kind of going through. So x is less than or equal to -2. The first thing I look at is this symbol, and this symbol tells me, because it has the or equal to part, that I'm going to be using a circle that is filled in. So when I go to my number line, I'm going to stick -2 in the center, -3, -4, and I'm going to fill it in with a closed circle over the -2. Now I'm going to use my test a point strategy, and I'm going to pick something from the left side of -2. How about -4? -4 is less than or equal to -2. Absolutely, this is true. And let's just check the other side. If I'm checking the right side, maybe I want to use, I'll use -1. -1 is less than or equal to -2. That is false. So I draw an arrow from my circle in the direction of true. And I make sure that I put an arrow at the end. And that's my graph. I wanted to do one more quick example for you. This one combines a couple skills that we've learned. We learned how to solve equations, something that might look like x plus 2 equals 5. We've learned now how to graph inequalities. So our formal solving methods would have us subtract 2 in both spots. These 2's would make a 0, and we would have x equals 3 as an answer. So if you're given an inequality that you actually have to solve for, the first thing that you can do is pretend like there's an equal sign and solve it exactly the same way. This process gives you your boundary point. Your boundary point is, in these last ones, it's the thing that you use with the circle. So we have our boundary points that separate the true from the false. So this means that 3 is going to separate my trues and falses. Now I can follow the same steps that I've done before. This symbol means that I should be using a closed circle. So I'm going to put a closed circle right above 3. And now, when I'm testing a point, I actually have something to test. I might not know this answer right away. So if I have x plus 2 is greater than or equal to 5, I'm going to try 1. 1 plus 2 is greater than or equal to 5. 3 is greater than or equal to 5. That is not true. So let's check over here. I'm going to try 5. If I substitute the 5 in, 5 plus 2 is greater than or equal to 5. 7 is greater than or equal to 5. Absolutely, that is true. So I draw in this direction. So for classwork, you guys are going to have a worksheet that's on graphing inequalities. The answers are posted around the room to help you out as well. Remember the rules that you have to follow. You have to decide what type of circle and then which direction the inequality is true in. You are welcome to use each other as resources, like always. You should never leave a teammate stranded if they're asking questions. However, I don't want to force you to do each question together. So it's a little bit up to your team how you decide to move forward with the worksheet. You'll have a few other activities to do later today, but this is a skill that I really needed you to learn before I get back. Good luck, and I hope you have a great time.